This is actually the day of the publication of Scorpia Rising, the last Alex Ryder. A very happy and a very sad day at the same time. I think of Conan Doyle, who killed off Sherlock Holmes and said that was the end, and then a few years later decided that it wasn't. But I think in my case, I am pretty certain that there won't be any more Alex Ryder. I just feel that the series has run its full length, that it's come to a sort of an end almost on its own volition, and that therefore it would be wrong to go back in and try and stretch it any further. There is still Ysen to come, which is the one last book, which is about the assassin who turns up in a couple of the Alex Ryder books, and Alex will make an appearance in that book. So it's not 100% over, but I don't see myself doing that proper Alex Ryder book anytime in the future. Yes, Ysen is of course a totally evil character, and I think it's quite an interesting idea to write a book about a 14-year-old, so I'm going to write about him as a child, obviously, rather than as an adult, to look at someone young who goes wrong. I mean, Alex and Ysen are two quite similar characters in many respects. One becomes a hero in a series of books, the other becomes the main villain. And I just think it's quite interesting. I'm not sure it's ever been done to examine a young person going wrong. So there is no hero in that book particularly. It'll be interesting to write. I do get enormous pleasure out of creating the villains in the Alex Ryder books. Often, in fact, it's the first thing I think up. Who is the bad guy? What does he want to do? And that is a lot of fun. I also love thinking up a really violent death for them and a fun death. Now, Razim, for example, in Scorpia Rising is, I think, the nastiest villain I've ever created. The cruelest, the most unpleasant. He also has one of the worst deaths of any of these characters. So that was a lot of fun in the book. So, and I've brought this across because I love it. I think it's a beautifully done piece of work. I mean, the artistry is by two Japanese sisters, Kanako and Yuzuru. It's really nice, and Anthony Johnston, who adapts the books, does it brilliant. And as I was saying, when these books first came out, I was sitting on top of them being worried, but Anthony does such a great job of the adaptations that I can now just really receive them when they come out and enjoy them and such. And I think they're terrific, you know, because I'm very well aware that there are young people out there who find reading a certain challenge, you know, long books, long words and all the rest of it. Not that incidentally the language in my books is ever very complicated, but these books are a shortcut. They're just a way to enjoy the world of Alex Ryder more quickly, with the visual stimulus, and as I say, they're beautifully made, and I love them to bits, actually, is the answer to the question. I think they're great. First of all, let me say that the Sherlock Holmes book, which I have written and is finished, is not a prequel or a sequel. It is simply another Sherlock Holmes story, written as if by Conan Doyle, very much in his language, and of course a completely new book. When I was asked to do it by the Doyle estate, my first instinct was not to, because actually, since you asked me, I'm not that fond of these literary add-ons and these prequels, sequels, reinterpretations, modernizations and what have you. I think that actually it sort of goes against the grain, that what I enjoy doing as a writer is being completely original. Why did I take it on? First of all, because I loved Sherlock Holmes when I was 18 and 19 years old, and I have been writing murder mystery throughout my life. It sounded like just fun, actually, and that, when you get to my age and you've been writing as much as I've been doing, is one of the first reasons you do anything. But, you know, some of them work better than others, and some of the ones that you've mentioned I'm sure will be great books, but by and large it slightly concerns me that we have this desire to revisit the classics rather than to make classics of our own. I love books, and I love stories, I love writing, and I love reading, and all my life I have been sharing that enthusiasm with anybody who'll listen, and I think that at the end of the day is about the best we can do. The trouble is that when you're trying to impose reading on young people because you think it will somehow improve them, their response is automatically to back away. And somehow you have to get across the point that actually reading is a huge pleasure, but the experience of losing yourself in a book is almost unrivaled on this planet. I mean, you know, you can watch a film, I suppose, and lose yourself in it for the 2 hours, but it's a very ephemeral experience, whereas reading a book is something very, very deep indeed. And I've often said that reading is just about as creative as writing. It's about the most creative exercise you can do with your brain, to take words on a page and create from them a world, and to people that world, and to activate that world, and to follow that world. It's a huge piece of creativity, reading. And in doing that, because you're exercising your brain, you are automatically, in ways that are very hard to decipher, improving yourself. You are developing as both in an educational way and as a human being. You are becoming fulfilled. You cannot understand where you are in this world unless you understand story. Story helps you to relate to other people, because as soon as you meet somebody who is alien to you, and begin to understand that they have a story which is similar to your story, then you begin to understand them. So it's a way to understand different cultures, different peoples, different traditions. Reading is a fantastically enriching experience. But the moment you start saying what I've just been saying to young people, you lose them. And therefore, all I can do is write the Alex Ryder books. I hope they'll get bought and be enjoyed and read, and support them to a certain extent by talking to people like yourself and doing occasional speeches, but by and large, leaving the messages to other people, leaving the crusading to other people, just getting on and writing what I write. It's a vast difference. I mean, it's very difficult to explain it without talking for another hour and a half, but when you're writing a novel, you're in control of the entire world. Every word you put on the page belongs to you. And I can have anything I want. I can set my novel on the top of Everest. I can put spacemen on Everest. I can have those spacemen bright blue. I can do anything I want, and it's all in my head and it's controlled. A film is a collaboration, and all sorts of questions have to be asked. Is it doable? Is it what the producer wants? You know, can we find spacemen? Can we afford Everest? All those sorts of questions. And you're writing much more for a target, I think, when you write a screenplay. You know, the demographic is important. I've never called myself, for example, a children's author, because I never think about children when I'm writing my books. The only person I'm thinking about really is me, and the stories are coming from me, and they are me. And that's very different when I'm writing a film or television, where I have to think much, much more about the audience that it's for. For anybody watching this film, you're actually in my office here in London, which is where it's being filmed. I'm sitting at I'm not sure how much you can see in the screen, but my computer is over there. Over to the right behind my head are all the books I use for research, and all the books I've written in various languages are on the shelves here too. And this whole space that I'm in is really just for me, and it's a very special area where everything I look at is really related in some way to my work. In answer to the question of what my days are, I spend around about anything between 5 and 10 hours a day sitting in this chair at this desk. And I do write an awful lot of different things: television, film, theatre, books, journalism, lots and lots of things. And it's my life. I mean, writing is my life. I've always loved writing every aspect of it. I mean, the physicality of it, the pen. Here's one of my notepads sitting here in front of me, and I always use the same sort of notepads, and different colours for my different moods. And I love the feel of paper. I love the scratch of a nib on the paper. I love the process of transferring what I've written onto the paper into the computer. I love watching words collide and form sentences, and the sentences form paragraphs. The paragraphs turn into pages, and the pages, suddenly you've got a novel or a screenplay or whatever it is. I love telling stories. I love ideas. You know, the great love of my life is, even when I'm not in this room, when I'm out walking and having fun and enjoying myself, is still nonetheless somehow being in tune with ideas and thinking up new stories all the time. Not always great stories, but nonetheless, you know, they keep coming to my head and get stored away, possibly to appear one day. So I've forgotten what your question was originally now, but that's my life is one of. It's not a disciplined life. I don't sort of turn up here at 8 every morning and never leave until I've done 3,000 words. I write when I want to write. That's sort of most of the time. I'm not scared to take time out. If I'm not in a mood for writing, I'll go to a museum, I'll take the dog for a walk, I'll go to a movie, go to dinner, whatever. And I hope I have sort of a healthy and a balanced life. I do lots of other things too. Films, theatre, I see friends, you know, whatever. So it's a very, very fortunate life. You know, I'm doing what I love, and I'm doing well at it.